I'm Scott Chang. I'm Senior Counsel at the National Fair Housing Alliance, and I've done a lot of work in fair housing over about a long time. I've worked on a lot of fair housing cases, and now that I'm not at the National Fair Housing Alliance, I also work on policy and also do some consulting. The Fair Housing Act is our nation's primary fair housing law. There are other laws that also apply, but it's the primary law that applies. It was passed in 1968, shortly after the assassination of Martin Luther King, and it has different provisions. It has protections that deal with discrimination against people in protected classes, but it was also designed to deal with systemic discrimination in our neighborhood. So it has both a very broad purpose and also a purpose of preventing individual discrimination throughout the neighborhoods of our country. So somebody who is trying to seek housing is protected under fair housing laws. So one of the most important provisions prohibits either refusal to rent or otherwise make unavailable, which is really broad. So if someone's having trouble finding housing, then that's certainly one of the key provisions. Another key provision is discriminatory terms and conditions. So most fair housing laws prohibit discriminatory terms and conditions, and that's when somebody's already in the housing, but they're facing discrimination. The Fair Housing Act protects based on 7 protected classes: race, color, national origin, religion, sex, handicap, and familial status. It does not specifically protect against age discrimination, but there's a fair amount of overlap around the disability provisions and age discrimination. So if somebody has a disability and because of their age, then they would be protected under the Act. Similarly, if someone's discriminated against based on their race, but are also older, they would be protected based on the race provisions of the Act and for all the other provisions as well. Although the Fair Housing Act itself doesn't protect against age discrimination, there are state and local laws across the country that may. So I looked, and it appeared that there are about 18 or 19 states that cover age discrimination in their state fair housing laws, including large states like California, New York, and Illinois. There also are local provisions that could include age discrimination as well. Essentially, it needs to affect a major life activity. So if it affects something like cognitive ability, then it would come under the definition of disability. You don't necessarily need to have a doctor's diagnosis in order to pursue a disability claim. So a service provider, for example, who has experience with someone might be able to provide the information that's necessary to show that somebody has a disability. So I think it's certainly helpful to have some diagnosis, but it's not absolutely necessary in many cases.